Yeah, mostly. Hey, we're live. Episode 82, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan.
Maybe Ken.
I was hoping Ken was going to join. I was, bringing out what a real school looks like out here, big house, but not here.
Why do they call it the big house? Like Ohio State, which is the rival, is the shoe or the horseshoe because it is a U. It looks like a horseshoe.
I have no idea why they call it the big house. I'm not that ingrained yet to all of stuff, but the great part is this is funny because here I am in Notre Dame country and they're playing, so Notre Dame considers Michigan to be their biggest rival. And I kind of say, don't you all have to win a little bit in order for it to be a rivalry? But as we know, it's really Michigan doesn't consider them their rival. It's really Ohio State, and mainly because of money.
Yeah, I mean, well, we talked about that before. They compete. Sports is like Syria for Russia and the U.S.
Yeah.
It's just a big proxy war for endowment, grants, so forth and so on, man. I mean, even back when I was in high school and I was thinking about being a veterinarian, that was the big decision. Were you going to go to Ohio State or Michigan? And where you go can determine where you get licensed to practice. Because there's the divisions of states assigned to schools for veterinarian medicine. So I'm like, what, dude? Why can't I just go wherever I want and do whatever I want? I mean,
I have singularity.
Well, it's all about money.
It is. It's about money and systems of control.
Always is. Speaking of that, is that a retro Silent Circle mug?
It is.
It's funny because I know it wasn't on the agenda necessarily for today, but here's what's interesting. Silent Circle, if they had just actually followed a legitimate business plan, could have been the OnePlus, because the OnePlus 6 just got picked up by T-Mobile, an official carrier.
Yeah.
You know what? Hat tip to you folks over there, OnePlus. You stayed true. You kept pushing forward, and you are what Silent Circle could have been.
I mean, I'm not on the inside of OnePlus. We were on the inside of Silent Circle Black Phone. It surely seems that OnePlus made the right decisions, and not only made the right decisions at the right times, but followed through with it. Like, so for instance, CyanogenMod was awesome when it first came out, but for whatever reason, they thought to themselves, this ain't the right way to go. This ain't going to get us to where we want to be, which is in being sold by T-Mobile.
Yep. Well, it's funny. Cyanogen, I don't even think it's around anymore. They were all like, we're the third largest mobile operating system. Well, we're going to defeat Google. Yeah.
No.
Spitballs against the battleship.
That's right, man. Like, yeah, so right decisions at the right time, not afraid to – and to me, this is a big difference, and you see this across the board. This is a microcosmic example. When you recognize that you've made a bad decision, the right thing to do is to take responsibility and make adjustments going forward such that that does not get repeated. Instead of what I think is actually more common and natural, which is to double down on that bad decision and perpetuate it.
Leaders will not double down on a bad decision once they have recognized it's bad. It's failure. It's a losing direction.
Yeah.
Managers will double down because their ego is in the way and they do not want to appear to those others around them that they could have made a bad decision.
Right.
That's the really way it comes down to.
Well, go ahead.
I don't believe that everyone that was at Silent Circle was a leader. They were a manager. They made a bad decision and they chose to keep going down that path.
And what I was going to add to that too is if someone is coming to you repeatedly and telling you that they're right and everybody else is wrong, leadership demands that you step back and ask why this person is proselytizing for themselves so much. What is their vested interest? What is their incentive to act that way? Because if nothing else, if two ideas are equal, in my view, as a leader, then let's compete and let's let a microcosmic market decide which idea is actually best. Yeah. Let's do peer review, so to speak.
Yeah. You know, and that just didn't happen. And here we are. Silent Circle is completely gone for the most part. The phone no longer exists. They bought some little silly firewall company, portable firewall company. It's like, why? You know, there's really zero reason to do that because you can VPN. I mean, everyone's got a VPN. You don't need some box, you know, little box to be doing that for you. And the way I understand it, you know, from the email that I received, that they essentially sold Silent Phone and Silent Text to another company. That basically they sold the rights to it. So the Silent Circle name has that, and the name of that company is, hold on, and I will get it. Though they have to do this stupid new Gmail interface on here. I don't know why they did that. Now it takes forever to load up on a website. They sold it to Office Tone.
Who the fuck is that?
Well, Office Tone.
And just so we're clear while you're looking this up, so we can distinguish for our viewers, they didn't license it, they sold it.
Yeah, they sold the rights to it. Office Tone is a VoIP company that services some companies that are around that so happens to be, from what I understand, owned by your BFF Travis.
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess.
So the person who is responsible for destroying it is now there. Isn't that great?
I guess for him, good luck. Wow, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's like shitty dissertations. I'm just glad my name's not on it anymore.
That's right. That's right. Because I can sit there and go, while I was there, vulnerabilities got closed out. Quick.
Mm-hmm.
Product moved out fast. Moving in the right direction.
Well, and it's amazing, man. You know, around the time frame that we were there, like I would go speak to a group of students at Cal Poly, and I would mention Black Phone Silent Circle, and people knew. You know what I mean? They knew of it. Everybody wanted to see it. Everybody wanted me to talk about it, the software, the security, so forth and so on. When I go talk to a group of students now somewhere and I mention Black Phone Silent Circle, I just get blank stares. Nobody has any fucking clue what I'm talking about.
No, and it's interesting because the encryption debate still continues. Now it's going after Facebook.
That's right. But if you mention OnePlus, everybody's like, what, the phone that now is available?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I had a OnePlus One. It was probably one of the best phones, certainly one of the best Android phones I've ever owned.
You know, the unboxing experience was pretty cool.
Oh shit, man, yes. Well, and so we'll talk about this maybe in a little bit too, because it's a good transition.
Yeah.
When I opened up my Pixelbook, it completely reminded me of that. Even on how the power cord, the USB-C, was rolled and taped together, that whole experience, man, was just clean.
Presentation matters. You know, people don't realize the power of presentation.
Right.
And going back to that encryption thing with Facebook, I mean, if you didn't read, you know, the government's now trying to force Facebook in their Facebook Messenger to embed a backdoor. I wonder if there's going to be a company that caves, it'll be Facebook.
Probably.
Because they're already worried about the perceptions, and so they don't want to be seen as the company not supporting the government now.
Right. Well, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's performance in front of Congress was questionable, I think, at best. Just his persona. So I have to imagine they're a little bit on the back foot strategically. Yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of rumbling in the web sphere, if you will, the internets, that the government should regulate big tech. This really comes out of the whole Alex Jones being deplatformed debate.
Yeah.
Which I think you and I will agree on this. I don't understand why it's a debate. I don't think it's smart to silence people, principally, right? However, it's not a matter of the First Amendment when you're using a service.
Right. I think that's what people continue to be confused about. The First Amendment is only protection from the government. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Don't like you, they can remove you.
Mm-hmm. No different than a proprietor can ask you to leave their coffee shop.
Yeah.
Public property, you can be removed from a public park by a ranger or a police officer.
Yep. So if you don't want Facebook and all them to have power, this is the thing. You want the First Amendment to kind of extend that way. You know, the biggest way for that to happen, people turn off the service. Either literally, you protest, in this case, Facebook. If 20%, actually, I don't even need 20%. In reality, if 5% were to shut off immediately, and they post why, Facebook would change their stance. So would Twitter. You want it to happen faster? Go rally 10%, 15%.
Well, like, okay, so you and CC'd me on this tweet. I think it was last night or this morning about the person was saying we have to not let them control the information flow.
Yeah,
they don't control the information flow. At best, they're redirecting it to represent a reality that's real. It's just not maybe your individual reality.
Right.
But look, are we going to suggest that 51%, so to speak, of the populace got tricked into voting for Trump? Now, I'm not going to suggest that information wasn't manipulated, that there's not propaganda, but you got to understand what propaganda is in a technological society. It's not Nazi dropping billets. You know what I mean? This is a real view of the world. Now, if you're going to suggest that a private company ought to not push an agenda, that's a different conversation. But then it goes back to exactly what you and I have said before, and you just explained. If you don't like it, turn it off. Don't participate. There are all alternatives. But I mean, so this is the power of these companies, though. Think about this. Google went up against Facebook with Google Plus. And I don't know anybody that uses Google Plus, whereas I still know people that use Facebook. I don't know why, but they do.
I agree. This is one of the times it's powerful to be the second that came out, because you have to see the mistakes of, in this case, MySpace, right? What people didn't like about it. And also the big thing is that, Zuckerberg went after the universities. And that was a smart thing. But, when I go down and look at it in terms of the aspect of, 51% of the population, with Trump, it was really probably 26, because that didn't happen. I just have to continue bringing that out, that, all these people that go, we the people didn't vote for Trump. Yeah, well, only about 26% seem to have voted in terms of the electoral part. There was no majority that turned out the vote. You don't like the outcome, get the people who didn't, be mad at the people who didn't vote. That's why everything with that, with the the David Hogue movement. I'll see you in 2020. Actually, I probably won't, because none of you are going to show up to vote then either. It's all talk. Talk is cheap, because we're already seeing it with the midterm stuff that's going on. Republican governors are still being voted in. As a matter of fact, the entire West Virginia Supreme Court was just axed. So good luck. I'm not saying that I am a Republican because I'm surely, certainly not a Republican. We've made that pretty clear on here. I didn't vote for President Trump. Still the president. President doesn't have that much power as people think they do. It's only in certain times. Vote Congress out. You don't like it? Vote Congress out. You won't.
No, I mean, and it's kind of tragic because not only will people not show up to vote, but even more so, they won't participate and actually try to work towards a change. Voting is an approximation of that. It's yet another, I think, final step to actually try to participate in, let's say, local city council, let alone local government.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing? That's that idea of you should make your bed before you do anything else. The notion being, as I understand it, that if you sort yourself, everything around you by nature will become sorted progressively. You know what I mean? Not that it doesn't take labor, but yeah, it's great to get on a platform even like this and tell people what to do. Well, shit, talking's easy. I mean, yeah, we show up and do it for like 2 hours a week.
Yeah, so talk is cheap,
right? But that's why I said, look, man, I'm looking for somebody to debate, not because I think I'm right and I want to persuade somebody, but because I'm stuck on some ideas that I want to work through. So I'd rather talk about it. It's actually working on the idea. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I won't do it in a private encrypted chat channel.
But that's the only way you're going to get someone that reviews you, obviously, to do it in an encrypted chat room.
I should email Lou Rupert. I saw that he just had his 5th anniversary at Silent Circle.
Yeah. But if you want to be able to make some concessions, you're going to have to possibly go into their home territory and do it in a secure room.
I'll do it as long as I can stream it off my end.
With mutual authentication.
They can we'll even blur their face out. They can wear a little mask and we'll use the pitch changer on their voice.
Oh, it's
like they're a mafia fucking rat. See, so this is a good segue, man. So I got my Pixelbook, opened it up. I've been using it. I'm not 100% used to the workflow in it yet, and I haven't nailed it down for myself.
That's great. Oh, look at this. I can go invisible. It doesn't like the Pixelbook.
Oh, shit. Yeah, look at that. I wonder if mine does. Oh, yeah, look at that. Pro setup.
Yeah.
I got the 128 gig, 8 gig i5, I think is the one I got. The base model, let's say. Fuck, man. Fuck. This thing is super usable.
Right. This is one of the things that there are some things that it can't do just yet. At least I haven't found. Like if you're really into Photoshop type stuff, it's not really meant for that. Well, I take that back. It absolutely could be used for that if the amount of people started moving towards it, then Adobe would do something with it. But there's no market for it. I mean, Pixelbook, I don't even know if it has a 5% market. Right. I mean, in academia, it's certainly quite high. It is quite high. But they don't stay with it. They don't have the stickiness in order to keep people in there. At least not yet.
Well, so far, man, I'm really impressed with the notion of essentially everything's a web app.
Yeah.
In some fashion or another.
Did you start loading Android apps on there yet?
Yeah. The one thing I haven't done, because I've been debating if I'm going to do it or not, is there's Linux on Chromebook, but you have to put it in the developer channel. And my understanding is, although it's a little stable, it's not perfectly stable. And of course, anytime there's a need to change, it's going to wipe the device.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. So I actually found a shell emulator that kind of works the same way, as far as I can tell so far. So I want to see how that works, because I have a workflow that relies on Git. And I don't want to use a GUI Git app. I want the command line, because it's integrated into my workflow a little better. So I've been playing around with that and seeing how it works. But man, even the one problem I had with the Surface Pro 4 was it was massively unusable to read an ebook.
Oh, right, sure.
It was too heavy. It was too awkward. It was hard to control. It didn't have really strong, like dark reading settings. Like like an iPad, for instance, has great light sensitivity where you can put it in night mode. It'll auto detect. It'll shift to a black background from a white background, all that shit. This does too. And I actually find, because of the way the hinges work and just the dimensions of the device, dude, it is super easy to read on at night. Like just laying flat in bed. It's super easy to use.
Well, there's a reason why, Apple and Google do that, and Microsoft probably doesn't. And that comes to their app store. You can buy books directly from iTunes, directly from Google. Yep. And they have to do it because they're also trying to compete with Amazon. Yeah. So they have to all have feature parity.
Yeah.
Microsoft doesn't have that, so they don't care.
No, man, and the Kindle app, which I've always used, is seamless on the Pixelbook. Absolutely seamless.
Yeah, zero issues with it. I use it. I use it quite a bit. I mean, I use it quite a bit for work as well. Mainly because for me, most of my stuff is web apps, and I'm able to get them to put up a terminal server, so I can go ahead and go over to there and boom, I'm on the. I have a nice, lovely Windows 10 image. If I need to do something that requires a thick client, I'm done.
Well, and dude, I think at a full charge, when I charged it up, it was projecting on my current settings like 13 hours of battery life. Fuck, dude.
I can easily go a full day of use.
Yeah, yeah.
I keep the monitor display lighting on auto during the day because if I'm just working, so it adjusts accordingly. It's not super bright. It's on auto, so it's somewhere close to the middle. No issues at all,
man. And it's really comfortable to type on. Of course, as I said before, the problem I had with my Surface Pro 4 was it's almost unusable in your lap. Almost unusable, man, because it's not that it's narrow, it's that it flexes. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And here's my MacBook Pro. All right, it's pretty heavy. That doesn't work either. Yeah, I can't put them both up. That's pretty slick. But that MacBook Pro is still heavier than the Surface Book, which you can't really see because
it reflects. But yeah, well, and here's the other thing too. So not only have I used it in my lap on the couch while Lily was watching, I don't know, fucking whatever show she was watching that, and it's super usable, comfortable to type on, man. The nice thing, other than the Mac, different from a MacBook, like a MacBook Air or a MacBook or the 13-inch Pro would be the alternative for me.
Right.
This thing doesn't go crazy with the fan sound, and it doesn't heat up like a fucking radiator.
The Surface Book that I have, which is the new one, not the 4, because I do have a 4. I just haven't used it in a long time. The new one, I don't have that problem, like what you were just mentioning.
Yeah,
but it's the next generation, so they started probably doing that.
Yeah, well, man, they changed some manufacturing processes.
I am sure of that.
But every MacBook I've ever had, once they changed to the aluminum unibody, always after extended use. I mean, even if it just the aluminum takes your body heat and holds it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this Pixelbook stays cool, man. It's easy to use. The way the touch is integrated with the keyboard, which sounds a little crazy, right? Because any touch screen with a keyboard fundamentally works the same way. But because of the UI layout and the Android workflow, so to speak, or the Chrome OS workflow, man, dude, I find it's really easy to use, especially being left-handed. So I'll touch with left and I continue to type with my right. Fuck, man, it's super integrated. It's so nice.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. I use it quite extensively. I dig it.
I love the tight integration right into Google Drive.
Yeah. Dude, and the way in which they do it, if you're not using it, it just puts it kind of like in, it'll automatically archive so it gets the right things that you're using. And, it'll basically just, it'll re-download. I mean, if you've got an internet connection, then great. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah, I was really curious how this offline mode would work. And so I've tried it with a couple different things, editing documents, reading ebooks off of Google Drive. I don't have any problems, man. Because that was always an issue with any other device I would use, is I would work on it in the airport before I got on the plane. And then once I got on the plane and, you know, we were up in the air and it's time to work, if you didn't mark that shit for offline use, you were screwed.
Yeah, they've done quite well. I'm super impressed. I continue to use the only thing I don't like I told you, I said last time, the pen. Why wouldn't they not make that magnetic that I can stick this thing on here?
Or at least give it like a little slot to stick into or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find like some type of aftermarket case for it, and that way the pen will slide in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have them.
I'm interested. I think I have the next week off of classes, but graduate classes start the week after that. I'm really interested to see how some of the like LMS and presentation software will work on the Chrome OS. Because, man, if this works well and I can integrate typing with a pen during synchronous teaching for math so I can draw the formulas, dude, if I can get that working, that's butter. I'm fucking done. Because, you know, before what I would have to do is load into Adobe Connect on my main PC, and then I would use the Surface, which was okay, but it was too loud and too hot, or the iPad, which was good, except you had to keep it at a certain angle to write on, which was uncomfortable, and have a second session logged into Adobe Connect so I could draw symbols and notations. And it worked, but it just wasn't great. So that, for me, has been the holy grail of looking for one device that I can do all that shit through. Because I've already built the academic research workflow, and it works. I just need two more things, which this involves Git. But I know it can do it. I just haven't figured out how I want to implement it. But, man, if I can get Adobe Connect to work seamlessly in there, I'm done. It's the perfect device.
Right on. Yeah, I just so super impressed with it. I'm using it almost nonstop for my academic. That's basically what it comes down to. Yeah,
well, and the next step for me then is to try a USB-C to HDMI adapter and see how it's going to look on my widescreen monitor.
Oh, I haven't had any issues.
Yeah, from what I understand, man, it works great. See, the iPad doesn't. It has to adjust the resolution. And then, like I said, it gave me headaches because of that difference in resolution of like looking down to touch, looking up to type.
That's because Apple only wants you to use their monitor.
That's right. Well, that's why, like, so any other Apple device, for the most part, I can hook up to a monitor. Why the fuck can't I hook an iMac up to a second monitor?
Well, you could, as long as it was an Apple monitor.
Yeah, right. Which is why, you know, that's some of the same bullshit of why I've never, ever bought a device from Sony of any kind, because of their bullshit proprietary interfaces. Down to remember when they had their own memory card format? Fucking scumbags.
Well, you've got to be able to continue your revenue flow.
When are people going to figure out, man, that an open format and an open standard that everybody agrees on is what's best? Because that's what the market will move towards, because it's universal. I mean, you try these proprietary formats. Look, why does everybody universally revile iTunes? Well, first of all, it's a clunky piece of shit. Dude, like every time I try to go back up one of my devices or do something, I have to go look everything up because every major version changes the complete workflow of like moving music around. Fuck you, dude.
Dude, I don't know.
That's why I've always loved Android.
I don't have any problem backing up my phone. Oh, right. I have an Android. I forgot.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I've always loved about Android is it acts as a mobile device should. You plug it in on a tether, and you can just interact with it as if it were just another computing device attached.
It takes no time. I have gone from Android phone to Android phone to Android phone. I mean, I even had, which was really funny, you know, for me, because there's only a couple of devices, and they were all tablets on Honeycomb. I didn't last very long. Google switched again. Here's a great thing of they realized something was a problem, and they did not keep going. They just went, you know what? We're going right to ice cream sandwich.
Yep. Just pivot.
Yep. We're not even going to continue doing this stuff. Boom, gone. Apple a lot of times doubles down. Why? They were fine with only having like 14% of the market. That's all they needed.
Yeah, right.
But what pushed Apple, Steve Jobs coming out with that iPhone, boom. He realized the demand with all of the iPods. That music was the center. Once you had that, but which is what's funny. As much innovation as Apple has made with all of their different devices, iTunes pretty much looks the same since I remember my very first iPod. It hasn't really changed. So
no, and that's what's crazy is it looks the same, and I don't think the UI is bad, like from a user experience. But man, the workflows are horrible. Like it's so non-intuitive to do things. I will point this out though. The move from an iPod to an iPhone shows you what can happen if you have the balls to cannibalize your own market.
Yeah.
At that time, Jobs and Apple, as he represented them, didn't care that he was going to evaporate the iPod market because you had an upgrade path.
Yep. You don't like it, go to a phone.
That's right. And I think they still sell like mini iPods and shit, right? I mean, they still exist.
I have no idea. But there's this new thing that we can do to find out. Let's just go to Apple's website.
Yeah, I think they still sell like the little tiny ones or the shuffles.
Mac, iPad, iPhone. So they have a section for music. HomePod.
Yeah, that's the
stupid ass AirPods. Oh, they still have an iPod Touch.
That's it.
But that's just like a phone.
Right. Right.
Let's click on this iPod Touch to see if they have different versions of this. No, basically it's just a phone with no GSM. Yep. It's literally a phone with no GSM.
So do you think they had the foresight when they were creating some of the second, third, fourth generation iPods of prototyping what a phone would work as based on user input? Or do you think they just said, hey, wait a minute, these things are pretty popular. What if we put a fucking phone in it?
I think that's basically the way in which they were going. I think that's exactly it. Because they needed something that's going to be able to hold more and more music and then videos, right? So once they saw that people actually would buy it, they're like, oh, hey, dude, why shouldn't we just put a GSM in there?
Right. Because at that point you had the dimensions for it. I mean, like the footprint of the device itself.
Yeah. And then BlackBerry tried to counter it with the Storm, and I got that.
Oh, that thing was horrible, dude.
Oh my gosh.
That thing was horrible.
That is probably what killed BlackBerry. Because they tried to move too fast, couldn't do it.
I used that for one night. And halfway, I had like a hour and a half train ride home for the commute. And halfway through the train ride, I wanted to throw the thing out the window.
I may have used it for 2 months. I tried to use that thing for 2 months.
Now,
and then I got the iPhone 3GS. That was not bad.
No, that's what I started with. I dug
it. And then, started work for a company that we were producing Android products. Well, our main thing was around Android because of integrity monitoring.
Right.
So I'm like, bye-bye, Apple, and didn't look back.
Now, before my 3GS, I had a BlackBerry Rolled Edition, and that was a pretty decent mobile device.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
for what it was. You know what I mean?
Plenty of BlackBerries, but, it was more for email and stuff.
Yeah. That's all it was. Email and texting.
Yep.
I didn't like it as a phone. I thought it was a piece of shit as an actual phone.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
But look at the progression of portable computing. I mean, we've said this before. We're back to essentially thin clients on dumb terminals, although the dumb terminals have processing power, which, okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue against it because I think what people have figured out is that there is a demand and a need for what we're calling offline mode operations.
Yeah, sure.
And in those cases, you need a little bit of punch. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. It won't surprise me if at some point, which we've already seen some of the stuff with like virtual keyboards, things of that nature, where it'll go down and it'll grab, where your hand is on things. Won't surprise me to have more and more of that. Using your finger on a certain area you've designated as your mouse pad, so you can still go. You don't have other equipment. I think a lot of this, the hardware aspect, is going to move. You'll be able to project a workspace through some type of, as we evolve VR to more and more of that. I mean, why not?
Yeah, no, that'd be wonderful, man. Because you're going to need a much smaller footprint of a device. Certainly not that big. And it alleviates a lot of usability problems, like the whole keyboard problem. I don't have a problem with my Surface Pro 4 other than the fact that it had the screen flickering manufacturing defect. But okay, shit happens, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But the keyboard's unusable outside of putting it on a hard surface. Well, man, if I can project a keyboard, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Think about it. Your glasses, is the way in which, if Google Glass had actually worked, but think about it, you would just have this in a small little carrying case, and it's more of a VR. You're putting that on, you've got your whole monitor, you've got everything. You've projected out where your keyboard is going to be, things of that nature, and done. I mean, why wouldn't that? Now you've got your whole workspace.
Yeah.
And the reason that I believe that is a reality is just, straight Moore's law. You could have more than enough computing power at some point in time to be able to do something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting point you brought up about glass, because that's the only thing that made me a little shy about buying this Pixelbook, because I was a Glass Explorer. And even though I was a Glass Explorer, I still had to pay for that device, which I still have. And it was not cheap, and it just got abandoned. And they really haven't done anything with that technology.
No, they haven't. I don't know that you had that same problem here, because Google is going quite heavily after academia.
Yeah.
Chromebooks have been around. They've proven that there is a market. And so they just essentially decided, why should we continue to allow Samsung and Dell and Sony make all the money? We can stay ahead of the game. We can always be a version ahead and be more integrated. No different than, Google's not dumb. They're seeing what Microsoft's done with the Surfaces and how the integration works. How the reason why Apple products work so well is because they control the operating system and the hardware. And when you do that, you're going to have better integration. Sometimes, bastardizing the environment is not a good thing.
Right.
But, this is what's funny. How come Google gets an antitrust lawsuit for, and they're opening up, they just want to license it, but no one goes after Apple for that?
Not since the media player and Internet Explorer days, man.
Yeah. But Google just got hit with another big, huge, fine, some crazy amount of money. I don't remember. Why isn't anyone going after Apple? Why are we going after, Microsoft, and why do we go after Google? But Apple seems to be the darling, and can't touch them.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand it either, to be honest with you. I really don't.
Yeah, Google's saying, hey, we're letting anyone to use it, but it's Android. So, we want our stuff here. If I was Google, I would eventually just say, you know what? We're no longer offering Android to everyone else. We're making it ourselves. We're going to take the Apple approach. You have 3 years to get off of it. Sorry, Samsung, go do your own operating system. Good luck.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things is, so, Mac OS or OS X, when it was that, you can always go buy it on a disc or as a download for what, like $50 or something. It's always been super cheap.
Yeah.
But good luck running on anything other than Apple hardware.
Yep.
You can do it, but man, it ain't fun.
Not even a little bit.
No.
The Hackintoshes. Yeah, no. I tried it.
It always cracks me up when people say that, man. It's like, dude, why would you buy Apple? Just get the operating system and run it on. Dude, no, I don't want to spend a Saturday looking up what motherboard I need to buy because I only have a choice of like 3 drivers. I did that. It was called Linux, and fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, not doing it.
Dude, I'd rather go get on my new riding lawnmower tractor and just drive around the neighborhood, which, by the way, I've done.
You've turned it into a true North Carolina. It didn't even take that long.
No, I just need the gun rack now, man. Well, and then a gun, but
sure, that's what you need. I gotcha.
Dude, this thing is fast. You want to talk? That's the beauty of electrical vehicles, man. You hit that throttle without the blades engaged, and that thing instantly takes off.
Next year, you can put more horsepower and change it with the work, the airflow. You'll be like Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Well, you know, that's why Marsha was like, we should get like a John Deere. I'm like, first of all, no, because it's green and it looks like shit. Second of all, if it comes with a free John Deere hat, maybe. Third of all, what I don't like is it's gasoline powered and it's noisy and it stinks. And that means there's going to be a day when I'm going to do something, but I don't have any gas. So now I got to go drive to the gas station to do it, which I'm not down with, right? I just want to go do what I want to do. I said, but you know, if something happens, this ties back into tech. If something happens to this thing, because it does have computerized parts on it, you know, smaller and a few, not that many, but it has some, you can't operate on it yourself. This is the problem all the real farmers are having with the giant equipment, is you can't service them because it gets locked behind software updates that you can only get from John Deere. And so you want to talk about like antitrust and planned obsolescence and shit like that? Dude, that's way bigger of a problem. Way bigger.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's true. All right, bro.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah. We'll have to continue this one on Thursday with Dr. Ken.
Yeah, man. 8 a.m., which is 7 his time because he's in the wrong side of Tennessee.
I know. I try telling him I don't think he can get up that early.
I mean, we have these things called alarms.
He's from Tennessee.
Yeah. Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys.
All right,
episode 82 in the can. Thank you again.
Done.
See you on Thursday.
Have a great week.
Bye.